We are just 2 months shy of the one-year anniversary of Seth Rich's murder, and ever since we learned Rich was a DNC staffer, the conspiracy theories online have taken a life of their own. But today, Fox 5 has learned there is new information that could prove these theorists are, in fact, right. New information from the family's private investigators suggests there is tangible evidence on Seth Rich's laptop that confirms he was communicating with WikiLeaks prior to his death. Now, the question is, why has D.C. police, as the lead agency on the investigation for the past 10 months, insisted this was a botched robbery when till this day there is no evidence to suggest that? The Rich family hired Rod Wheeler, a former MPD homicide detective, to run a parallel investigation into their son's death. Wheeler says he believes there's a cover-up and the police department has been told to back down from the investigation.
The police department nor the FBI has been forthcoming. They haven't been cooperating at all. I believe that the answer to solving his death lies on that computer, which I believe is either at the police department or either at the FBI. I've been told both. But you have sources at the FBI saying that there is information could link Seth Rich to WikiLeaks? Absolutely. Yeah, and that's confirmed. Actually, I have a source inside the police department that has looked at me straight in the eye and said, Rod, we were told to stand down in this case, and I can't share any information with you. Now, that's highly unusual for a murder investigation.
Within a week of the dirty cop James Comey being fired as the head of the FBI, a damning report has come out linking the death of Seth Rich with WikiLeaks. So we have to ask the question, could this be the beginning of the end for Hillary Clinton?
July 5th, 2016, James Comey's press conference, where we thought he was laying out a strong case for the indictment of Hillary Clinton. And we're going to go point by point through his statements and then show you specifically laws that were broken based on his own words. Let's start here.
From the group of 30,000 emails returned to the State Department in 2014, 110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information at the time they were sent or received. 8 of those chains contained information that was top secret at the time they were sent. 36 of those chains contained secret information at the time, and 8 contained confidential information at the time. That's the lowest level of classification. Separate from those, about 2,000 additional emails were up-classified to make them confidential. Those emails had not been classified at the time that they were sent.
Now, the FBI director is basically saying there, Clinton broke the law. What law? 18 U.S. Code 1924. What is that? The unauthorized removal and retention of classified documents or material. Let's continue. Let's watch Comey say this.
The FBI also discovered several thousand work-related emails that were not among the group of 30,000 emails returned by Secretary Clinton to State in 2014. We found those emails in a variety of ways. Some have been deleted over the years, and we found traces of them on servers or devices that have been connected to the private email domain.
All right, what is he saying? What law comes into play here that Clinton violated? 18 U.S. Code 793, gathering, transmitting, or losing defense information, which we know it's 99% certainty that, in fact, 5 foreign intelligence agencies were able to get a hold of. Here's the next part.
Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information.
Extremely careless, but the law states gross negligence. What's the difference? Here are the laws that were violated here. 18 U.S. Code 793, again, gathering, transmitting, or losing defense information, and 18 U.S. Code 1905, disclosure of confidential information generally. Okay, well, let's go to Comey's next statement.
7 email chains concern matters that were classified at the top secret special access program at the time they were sent and received. Those chains involve Secretary Clinton both sending emails about those matters and receiving emails about those same matters. There is evidence to support a conclusion that any reasonable person in Secretary Clinton's position or in the position of those with whom she was corresponding about those matters should have known that an unclassified system was no place for that conversation.
Amazing. Here are the laws that apply here. 18 U.S. Code 798. Disclosure of classified information. Again, 18 U.S. Code 793. Gathering, transmitting, losing defense information. 18 U.S. Code 1905. Disclosure of confidential information generally. Now, this is only the tip of the iceberg. All of these are serious, prosecutable crimes which Comey ignored. And by the way, there's a former Navy machinist. His name is Christian Saucier. He's now sitting behind bars tonight. He's serving a year's sentence for taking 6 pictures of the submarine that he worked on. Hillary Clinton, she got to walk free.
I think we'd have to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt a general awareness of the unlawfulness of your conduct. You knew you were doing something you shouldn't do. And then, obviously, that's on the face of the statute itself. Then you need to consider, so who else has been prosecuted and in what circumstances, because it's all about prosecutorial judgment. But those 2 things would be the key questions. Can you prove that the person knew they were doing something they shouldn't do, a general criminal intent, general mens rea,
but the way to
treated other people similarly?
The way to prove that is whether or not someone took steps to conceal or destroy what they've done. That is the best evidence you have, that they knew it was wrong, that they lied about it.
It's very good evidence. Always want to look at what the subject said about their conduct.
It made contact with somebody from the Democratic National Committee's office, and they've been served. Democracy has prevailed today.
But in a bizarre twist of events, on August 2nd, less than 1 month after serving the subpoena, Lucas was reported dead. Police are not releasing the cause of death at this time and are not commenting on speculation that Lucas was murdered. His unusual and sudden death is fueling speculation about the recent death of Seth Rich. Rich, a DNC employee, was working on several committee cases involving voter and election fraud before he was murdered by gunshots. He was also set to testify in the FBI's email investigation of Hillary Clinton before he was killed. Authorities have ruled his death as a robbery gone wrong, but police records indicate nothing was stolen from Rich. His recent mysterious deaths appear to be something stranger than fiction.
Rich's murder made national news because of his job with the Democratic National Committee as the director of voter expansion data.
That was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
our sources face serious risks.
But it's quite something to suggest a murder. That's basically what you're doing.
We are investigating to understand what happened in that situation with Seth Rich.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
the Seth Rich murder case has recently exploded back into the headlines, with Julian Assange admitting that Seth Rich was the DNC leaker back in 2016 presidential campaign, and it wasn't the Russians, as dementia victim Maxine Waters claims. For those that don't know, Seth Rich was shot twice in the back 12 days after the DNC and Hillary Clinton's emails were released by WikiLeaks. Now, the FBI tried to say it was a botched robbery, but they didn't take his phone, his wallet, or anything. He was just shot and left there to die in the street. And subsequently, those leaks led to the firing of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was at the time the head of the Democratic Party. And it was in those leaks that proved that the DNC colluded to steal the presidential nomination from Bernie Sanders and give it to Hillary Clinton. So these leaks also then helped to derail Hillary Clinton's campaign. And, you know, since Hillary is known for her manic fits of rage at the drop of a hat, usually because she's drunk, it's no coincidence, I don't think, that Seth Rich wound up dead. So you see, Seth Rich was not just a DNC staffer, as the mainstream media reported. He was, in fact, the director of voter expansion for the DNC, which meant that he had the keys to all the data. He had admin rights to get into the email servers, to all their servers, so he had access to everything. So it was easy, I think, for Hillary and her gang to track down who the leaker was. Now, just in the last couple of days, Kim.com, he's a famous hacker come pirater that's in trouble himself at the moment, but he's come out and basically backed up WikiLeaks, saying that he knew Seth Rich personally and he knew that he was the leaker. And he also claims that he knows that he was assassinated by someone within the DNC. So popular theories that are floating around at the moment, which are credible, are saying that it was Hillary that called for the hit, but she got her lackey, John Podesta, the child molester, to carry it out. But I don't mean he actually pulled the trigger. He just hired the guy that did it and made sure it all got, covered up and whatnot. Now, as for the motives of Seth Rich, it turns out he was a Bernie Sanders supporter who felt betrayed by the primary rigging. So he leaked out as much as he could to show that Hillary had stolen the nomination. So again, it wasn't the Russians and they had nothing to do with it. But the mainstream media are just ignoring all these facts. And then, of course, to cover all this up and protect Hillary, we had the dirty cop James Comey acting as gatekeeper. But what's interesting is with 1 week of him being fired by Trump as the head of the FBI, this damning report comes out linking the death of Seth Rich to WikiLeaks. No surprise there. But as I said, you won't hear about this in the mainstream media. So now we've got 2 murders directly linked to the DNC. So, the question is, could this be the beginning of the end for Hillary Clinton? What we need Mr. Trump to do is to enlist an independent special prosecutor to reopen the case and bring justice to Seth's family, but also to send Hillary Clinton and her crime gang to prison. And in fact, just in closing, since the gatekeeper Comey was fired, Washington is starting to leak like a sieve. I kid you not. It looks like the Patriots are gaining some ascendancy, and only time will tell. But trust me, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very positive time.
FBI quietly dumping more Hillary Clinton emails. It happened last night while much of the public was busy watching the Packers versus the Giants. 300 pages of documents put out by the FBI showing Mrs. Clinton was regularly sending confidential and secret information to someone outside the government. 300 pages of documents released by we don't know who within the FBI, which had possession of them,
right,
turning them over to the public to see.
What we now know, what Donald Trump feared and argued during the campaign, and what rogue FBI agents who profoundly disagreed with Director Comey's decision to recommend against indictment was true. This is the smoking gun if ever there was one. It ramps up the case for her prosecution.